Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hill Pursuit Podcast. This is episode 58. It is May 26, 2022, episode 58 of the podcast. And today we predominantly discuss a little bit of a race recap from this most recent weekend's Olympic distance triathlon. Towards the end of the podcast, we chat a little bit about goals and time frame specific goals for my upcoming 70.3 half Ironman in about 2 weeks. But in the middle there, we talk a little bit about how heat and humidity play a role in training and performance. We discuss the importance and the value of finding, and training with regularly a good training partner. So we discuss that for a good bit, and then we wrap up the day. We conclude the show discussing hunting, actually, and how fitness can relate to hunting and vice versa, how hunting relates to fitness. So thanks for listening. This is episode 58. If you'd like to find us on any social media, just check us out at Hill Pursuit. You can also check out our website, hillpursuit.com, and we have an email address as well, hillpursuit@gmail.com. So please find us on all of those things. Talk with us, subscribe to our content. We would love to just continue to push out more content for you. So that's what we're doing today in today's episode. We hope you like it. This is episode 58. Thanks for listening. Enjoy.
Good, bro. You?
Good. What you got on your hands?
Just doing a little painting around the house.
I saw something.
Yeah.
Well, cool. It's been a little while since we had one of these. So fill me in. What's going on? How's training? What are you painting around the house?
Yeah, man. No, just random house painting stuff, getting some walls painted, cabinets painted.
Nice.
Working on projects. But yeah, training's been good. I'm excited to hear about your race, so I'll quick get my stuff out of the way. But pretty starting to jack up some conditioning. The other day it was hot. It was probably our first real hot weekend.
Yeah.
And all I had was 2 1-mile repeats. It was like run a mile and then like take 6 minutes off and do another mile. And dude, it was the slowest time that I've ever ran a mile in my life. It was horrible. Like, I was like embarrassed. I'm not even gonna say the time. It was pathetic. And so I ran the first mile with like a pair of boots. Like when I say boots, they're not like work boots. They're like a Loa boot. And I was that mad at my time. I ran the second mile with no shoes on to see if that would bring my time down. I think it might have cut it like 5 seconds. And I always hate to be the guy that blames stuff on the weather, because I felt fine. Like, I didn't feel bad. That's the part that frustrated me. So I don't know. Maybe it was just I'll probably have the same thing next week. So hopefully it was just like a fatigue thing. I don't know.
Dude, that's like such an important variable that a lot of people, you only had a mile, so it's not wrong to just like push it. But a lot of people like tend to neglect or consider how the heat and humidity is going to like affect your pacing for things. So, big marathons or, that type of world, endurance stuff. It's
dude,
it's big time. It's a huge variable.
It was a mile,
right.
Like absolutely, like what, between 5 and 8 minutes of work, at 8 at the most, that should ever be,
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Extrapolate that out to like a 20-mile training run though, and how important it is to pull your pace back big time. If you do like wake up and it's like 80% or sorry, 80 degrees and humid, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's a nice little lesson learned. I mean, it's a tiny moment in time for you. It's not like a 20-mile training day, you know, it's not anything like that. But dude, if you're feeling it on a mile, imagine people who had like big runs or races that day. That's crazy.
Dude, that's the thing. I wasn't feeling it. I didn't feel bad.
You weren't feeling it.
No, that's what I'm saying. I didn't feel bad. That's the part that I'm saying. Like, I'm not one of them guys, like heat, I'll train the heat. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, it is what it is. The work has to get done. That's the part that frustrated me, is like physically I didn't feel it. So I don't know what the culprit was. I can't say it was the heat because I train in the heat all the time. My garage is
Gotcha.
So like my garage is an air conditioning, whatever it is, it is. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. I'll go out and train, and that's the part that's frustrating, is because I didn't feel bad, you know.
Yeah, that's definitely hard then. It's easy to, like, at least for me, if it's super hot out, like the other day before the triathlon that I had, the day before was like high 80s and really humid and just like dry, no wind, ridiculous, like just ridiculous heat, no clouds in the sky. And I had like a 35-minute like little shakeout, easy run with some pickups, and it sucked. It was so hot. I shouldn't have even run more than 15 minutes. It was too hot. Like, day before the race, just to kind of like keep the edge a little bit, I probably shouldn't have even run like more than 10 or 15 minutes. That's how hot it was. I ran the whole thing, but as I was running, I knew that I had the potential to do more damage than good after a certain point, because I was just like, I was just dripping and drenched with sweat, running like easy 10-minute miles, like super, super light. And it just took a lot out of me. And like, thankfully the next day, the race wasn't nearly that humid, but yeah, that can really cause an athlete to make some big mistakes really, really fast if you're not being careful. For you in a mile, a couple mile repeats, you might not notice it, I guess, but yeah, that has potential to really ruin somebody's day for sure. But anyways, so yeah, you want to talk about the race a little bit?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's I haven't really talked to you. I know it sounds like it went. So
yeah, it did go really well. I don't need to go crazy. I don't go like crazy in depth, but I'll talk about it a little bit. But anyways, first, my more importantly now, I say more importantly because it's just next, but I have a half iron in less than 3 weeks now, so 2.5 weeks in Maryland, the same one that I did last season. So really, really looking forward to that. Speaking of hot and humid, that race is super smoking hot. Like, that run was miserable last year, so that's definitely something to be prepared for. Thankfully, I did get out. Like, when it's been really hot, aside from that day before the race, when it's been really hot, I've tried to get out in the heat to literally just feel it and be out there for an hour or so, and whether it's a jog or some tempo stuff, whatever. So I'm trying to get out there because I know that this race has potential to be like super hot on the run. There's really no shade either. It's not on a trail or anything. It's just on the road, an open road, and you're just battling the sun. But anyway, so that's coming up, and I have some really big, lofty goals for that race, especially based on how I performed in this recent Olympic. But anyway, so yeah, race I just did, little recap, I guess. It was the Mighty Moraine Man Olympic distance, which is a 1,500 meter swim, 25-mile bike, and 6.2-mile run. So the swim, The swim was tough. I couldn't tell if it was a little long or a little short in terms of the distance, but the race director did announce on the morning of, because we had horrible weather the night before, that the buoys, like the anchors lifted and they floated away. So the course, basically, they showed up like 3 hours before the race that morning, and the buoys were like in the woods out of the lake. So they had to like reset them as close as they could. So it wasn't a perfectly measured off 1,500-meter distance, which again, as a reminder, is literally just 100 meters under 1 mile. So it's about a mile swim. I couldn't, it was hard to say whether or not it was shorter or longer. It was just a little off, it was just a little weird, but it's the same for everybody. So who cares? Anyway, the weather that day was absolutely perfect. It was supposed to be like torrential downpours and thunder, lightning and stuff. Kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back throughout the week. And thankfully that morning it was perfect. We got so lucky. So that was great. Whatever. We get in the water. There's about 80 males doing the Olympic, which is a pretty big number. There was only like 20 females. So I don't know why that was, but yeah, there was a lot of males doing the Olympic, and in my age group there was like 20. So we had one of the bigger age groups. And that's really, when I look at like how I progress like in the sport, I mainly look at how I rank in my age group, because times are times. In theory, on a perfect day, perfect weather, you can measure one performance against another, but 60 degrees is different than 80 degrees, and 80% humidity is different than 60% humidity. So I don't really care about my times necessarily. I just like to see like where I rank in my age group, because it's all the same on that given day. You know what I mean? Like there's too many factors that can influence your race time that's a little less important. It's cool if you like set a PR, I guess, but that's not the most important thing, I don't think. But anyway, so for larger races, I like to look at like, is my rank getting a little bit better as I progress and feel like I'm getting a little bit better in the sport, whatever. So got in the water, and dude, this happens every triathlon, everyone freaks out in the first like 400 meters, swimming way too fast. Everybody, all 80 people are right there in a little bubble, just freaking out, going too hard. But it's also like, okay, I have to swim kind of hard because everyone's freaking out and swimming hard. So if I don't swim hard, I'm gonna get swim on top of. So the nature of that animal is that you kind of start off a little too hard. And I did, but I also kind of understood that ahead of time. I knew that I would, just because it's a mass start. It wasn't like 3 at a time. It was just everybody all at once, 3, 2, 1, go. So there's 80 people just like, flailing around. And literally it took about 500-600 meters for me to just kind of gather myself and just relax. So, which was really annoying. And in that first 500-600 meters, I'm annoyed that it's happening. I'm resting a little bit more than I wanted to. And I'm kind of like, in my head, I'm like, geez, this is a terrible start to the first race of the season. Like I was looking forward to this so much, but then literally 10 seconds later, I'm like, just shut up and race. Like you're 5 minutes into this freaking 2.5 hour event. Just go. Who cares? Like get over it. So the swim wasn't the best start in the world. But I got over it quickly, and I knew that you're not going to like win or lose a race or do your best or worst in a race in the first 2 to 5 minutes of a swim. So got over it quick. I fell into my groove and I swam pretty well. I started passing people on the back half of the swim, maybe like the last 600 to 700 meters. And then on the way in, like the last 400, we were swimming with the current, so it was really quick coming in after that last turn, which was kind of cool. So kind of relaxed, but swam faster on the back quarter of it. Came out of the water just under 24 minutes, right around 23. And that was about technically, right, a minute faster than the last time I swam an Olympic. But again, that doesn't really matter to me a whole lot. I knew that I could have swam better. And that's what's more important, in my mind, is I could have swam better, but I still swam decent. So whatever. Into transition 1, I spent a little bit too long there because I was messing with my bike computer, and this was the first time I was getting my wetsuit off after swimming in it. So probably spent about a minute to 90 seconds too long in transition 1, but first race of the year, chalk it up to experience, and that's fine. Got situated, didn't feel rushed or anything. Headed out on the bike, and the bike was just gorgeous. Like, I ride that course pretty regularly, at least once a week. So I was very familiar with it. I knew when to push, when not to push, when to relax, when to hop in aero. So super comfortable with the bike. I don't think anybody passed me on the bike. I was passing people on the bike almost, a lot of people who finished in front of me on the swim, I passed. I literally don't think a single person passed me on the bike. But that's probably one of my stronger legs. The bike was a little bit short. It was about a mile short, the course. So it was like 24 miles, but just a small local triathlon. So not a big deal. Again, same course for everybody. So that bike took me about an hour and 9 minutes. Got into transition 2. For the bike also, I looked after the fact that my average power on the bike was like 210 watts. My normalized was like 255. So I was really pleased with that because my FTP is only like 250. I mean, it might be higher, clearly, but my functional threshold power is really only like 250. So maybe not even. So I think I'm definitely improving on the bike. And I think that race was a good indicator. So my main thing coming off of last season, I'm sure you remember it because I've said this 100 times, but was like preserving energy on the bike so that I could feel like I'm racing the run, not just like surviving the run. I want to race it so that I can like try to make up time and sprint and pass people, feel like I'm racing at the end of the triathlon. Thankfully, I had that feeling with this one, but this one was also short enough that I literally told myself I'm just going to rip it. And if I fail, then it's just a learning moment. And then I'll learn to like pull the bike back for these more important races. I didn't fail. Like I got onto the run, and I realized quickly on the run that I probably drank a little bit too much right before getting off the bike. So I had a little bit of a side stitch for like 3 miles, actually. So about half the run. And I was pulling back and like conserving my effort because I wanted to race as much of the run as I could. So I'm not even looking at my watch. I had it on because you just wear it, but I wasn't even looking at it. I get halfway through the run, and I was like pulling back a little bit. I get halfway through the run, and I realized that I was running like 8:20s. And, after all that, that's really good for me. Really good after everything else. And I was pulling back. So I looked at my watch, and I'm averaging like 8:20s. And there was a potential that if I ran like a 23-minute 5K on the back, which is a little bit quicker than 8:20, obviously, but if I ran a quick 5K, I could break 2.5 hours. And that never even occurred to me because last year I raced like 2:45. So I was like, we'll just see where whatever happens, happens. Again, not super concerned about the time, but then back half of the 10K, I'm like, all right, if I can pick this up now, maybe I can break 2:30. So I start chipping away at it a little bit, and I'm getting closer and I'm getting closer. And I'm realizing in the last mile, I probably would have had to run like a 6:50 or a 7. Like I would have had to take a decent chunk out in the last mile. And I realized that it probably wasn't going to happen, but I ended up averaging like 8:13 or 8:14 overall. So I did chip away, and like, I felt like I raced the run, and it felt really, really good. And I know I had a little bit more because of the cramp in the first like 3 miles. So I actually feel like I have the potential to smoke these half irons coming up, because I moderated my output on the bike. Maybe just be a little bit more mindful of what I'm taking in right before I'm getting off the bike, maybe like the last 10 miles. And then pace myself on the run and get to the point where I feel like I can race the back half of the half iron or the half marathon. And I feel really positive coming off that race based on how it went, honestly. So, yeah, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling like I have a lot of fitness going on right now. And I'm hoping to shed some, well, probably not yet, but I'm going to, a couple more weeks of build, shed some of this fatigue, and then just destroy this half iron. Honestly, I feel like I can. So I came out of the race feeling really positive. Yeah.
Good. It sounds like it was like that's awesome. It sounds like it was a big, like a lot, like some of the experience is starting to pay off now. Obviously,
Absolutely.
Like the training, obviously, you put in the effort, but it seems like the experience of like just like like you said, the like when to pace yourself and all that, sounds like that's starting to come full circle a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet to have felt it actually, like in real time too. Literally
Exactly.
running, and I'm saying to myself, I can't even believe I'm running this fast after putting out 210 for 24 miles, 210 watts for 24 miles. I honestly thought I would just like bonk and redline, but I managed to still put together a really good run. Not just for me. I think that's a good, like my 10K was like 51 minutes. I think that's a pretty good 10K pretty much for anybody, unless you're a freak.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some freaks down around 40 minutes, of course, that like those people exist for sure. But I think my 10K I was really pleased with my 10K.
Yeah, like a 10K after all that. Yeah, that's like
right after, right? Not an open 10K. Like I could probably run 46-ish or whatever in an open 10K, but
I think I ran an open 10K one time. I think my time was either 44, between it was like 44 to 46 minutes, I remember. And I didn't train for it. I was just like got out of wrestling season. Yeah. And I was gonna hop in this thing, and that's what I was trying to think. Like after all that, yeah, that's legit. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I have some pretty big goals going into the 70.3 now, and I hadn't actually put goals on paper or in writing before yesterday. Actually, I went out on a ride with a friend. Again, back out on that race course, because it's like 15 minutes from my house. It's just a good place to meet up with people and ride. It's got a really good terrain, bunch of hills and stuff. So we like to get out there when we can, like once a week. So we're out there, and mind you, this guy got third overall in that race and expected to win the race, but based on who shows up, right? So you never know. And some studs showed up, and he ended up getting third overall by like 4 or 5 minutes. But so whenever I train with him, I always know that I'm going to work hard. So that's also pretty awesome. But we're talking, and we're talking about our goals, and he's got some crazy goals that I can't even like calculate in my brain because he's a freak. Like I raced 2:30. His finishing time was like 2:03. it it was just like equal parts better and faster in all three disciplines plus transitions. So it's just skill level, experience, fitness, equal parts better in every aspect. And it's really cool to just like be around people like that and, try to just grab whatever you can from those people. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, we talk about going to these conferences and clinics, right? You meet people, you network, you try to learn from other people, you see what's good, you see what's not good. That's how I feel when I train with these people. It's just such a great experience.
I love training with people that are stronger and more fit than I am.
Yeah. Or at the very least, like, can push you really hard.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I think of the time when you were down, visiting.
Yeah, because let's be real. I'm not stronger than you, and I'm probably not faster than you. But I think we both pushed each other pretty well. And that's in itself is also really important too, I think.
Right, but I mean, you go out and run like a couple miles. I mean, I'm probably looking at the back of your shoes. So you know what I mean. Like after pushing me, like it's always like, have someone there to do that for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's hard. It's hard to find, especially the more into the fitness game you get or your discipline, the better you get. It's like I'm not saying there's not. I hate to say this, but I'm not trying to say there's not people out there better than you. But it's hard to find someone like if you're truly geared towards that. It's not like you're just going to walk to the local gym and find someone that is as dedicated and zoned in as you want to be, or more zoned in.
Yeah, and if you do like see that person, it's not even a guarantee that they're even willing to train with you. So if you actually find something that works and you create a relationship, friendship, training, whatever, that you can actually work together from time to time, right? Once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever, and push one another, man, that's gold. And I think you got to take advantage of those times that you can train together because, like for example, yesterday I only had like an hour and 15 bike planned. We rode for 2 hours. We rode hard, and then we ran for 20 minutes right off the bike, like 740 pace. So we worked out really hard, and I didn't have that necessarily planned, but I deviated because, in my mind, I'm probably only going to get one training session with him per week. He's there and he can push me without even really trying to push me because he's so good. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking advantage of this, and we both pushed each other and we had a great workout. So
yeah, dude, that's kind of where I'm at. Like in jiu-jitsu, like I'm pretty new in it. Like I have some wrestling background, but like everyone that I go against has something different that they're pushing me in. Like I might be decent in one area, but they're better than me here. So I gotta like I'm working there, and then I go against someone else, and that last person that I went against in that last bout may not have been as good here, but this person's better there and I'm weak here. So it's like constantly like, it's like filling in your holes.
Yeah.
And that's the awesome part, especially if you can find like a partner that if you're weak in something, that hey, they might be able to push you in that realm too. And like, dude, I always like I love shooting bow with people that are good or better than me in archery too, man. Like I always think of that. Like we always used to shoot growing up, and like my dad, like I always take it to him. Like he can freaking shoot his arm off with a bow, and like we'd stretch it out, and he'd like just be like plugging holes at like 60 yards. Like we would like stretch it out just to like we would stretch it out just to test ourselves out further. Yeah. And like I wouldn't even be on target sometimes, but then I would get the competitive part comes out, and you stay there until you're like actually hitting target again, and then it's like the same thing. You just keep growing, and that's dude. If you can find, I think anyone like find someone that can push you somewhere where you're not as good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anyway, we'll wrap up here. The only last thing I'm gonna say is I'm gonna put it on paper because I want to see if it's possible. But I was talking with my friend, and I'm thinking about like realistic times. Now that I've pushed myself really hard in this Olympic distance, I'm looking at what's realistic for the next level of the 70.3. Now that I know how I felt, so in my mind, I swam at like a 44-minute 1.2 mile last season, so I'm looking to drop that to 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
My bike last season was about 250, and I did over bike for my fitness level last year, but I also think my fitness level on the bike is significantly greater. So I think I can ride a 245. That's 5 minutes on both the swim and the bike. And then this is the big one that I think is the wild card, but I might have gotten a little glimpse after the race as to what I can actually do on the run. Because I overbiked last year, I ran like an 11:15 pace or something silly. And it was not a good half marathon for me. It was like 225 or something ridiculous. If I ran an open half marathon, I'd be under an hour and 50 minutes. You know what I mean? Like I can run fast, but I overbiked. So if I don't overbike like I didn't just recently, I think I have the potential to run under a 2 hour. I know that's a big time cutoff from last year, but again, I made a mistake last year. So I think I can run under a 2 hour half marathon and be right around 5.5 hours for the 70.3, even though I raced a 6:14 last year. So this is a huge jump down, but I'm talking about what's realistic in terms of where my fitness is now. And again, like you said, I'm learning a lot from mistakes I've made and experiences now. And I'm just going to put the question out there, is 5:30 possible year two, essentially year two? I think I can. It seems like it's reasonable in my head and based on how I just performed. So, 2.5 weeks out, now's the time to kind of create those goals. And I'm not pulling them out of thin air. So I'm confident in saying, look, I actually have evidence and reason and rationale for why I'm coming up with these goals. So I think 5:30 is reasonable. If I give myself a little wiggle room with maybe missing those numbers a little bit and maybe transitions a little longer, 5:35, but somewhere in the 5:30s, I think is doable. And that's a huge chunk of time from last season, but I think I've learned a lot and I've gotten a lot better. So that's my goal, is to have my first two numbers start with a 5 and a 3. 5:30 something is my goal.
Check out, not to cut you off, but we're kind of talking about this. Have you ever heard of Cameron Haynes?
I was going to mention that I listened to a different podcast and he was just a guest on it. Yeah, I follow him a lot. I listen to his stuff. I watch him on Instagram all the time.
Yeah, so he's an archery hunter. Like that's his thing.
Yeah,
that's like what he forged himself off of. I just while I was painting, he's on like 2 Jocko podcasts.
Oh, nice.
2 casts ago, and he came out with a book called Endure. Bro, I want to read that.
New York Times bestseller. Did you see that?
Yeah. Did it make it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think they were actually I think they were talking about that on the podcast. Like, oh, is it going to make it? He's like,
yeah, it made it.
So yeah, dude. I was hoping you heard of him, but he's a monster, man.
Oh yeah.
His like, and we'll wrap it up. But I love his like philosophy. It's like he always chalked it up to like he wasn't talented. He could just work hard, and that's like what his thing was. Like he doesn't miss training. He just gets after it. So yeah, maybe we'll do.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that one of the podcasts I listen to, the guy I follow all the time, is Bear Performance Nutrition. Nick Bear, the BPN guy. He's the kid that I went to college with, and his company blew up. And I love all of his stuff and follow him. And yeah, he blew up too. So yeah, he just had Cam Haynes on, and I haven't finished it, but I started listening to it. So I'll send that to you also. But yeah, you said you listened to him on one or two Jocos.
It was one Jocko. It was like two of Jocko's, two casts ago that Jocko did. It was just on one of those. But yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, he's sick. I mean, he talks about, at least from the one I just listened to or listening to, he talks about, how he said to himself when he was kind of just starting bow hunting, like, how do I get better at this? And he realized that the more fit he was, the better he was at it. So then he started doing all these ultra endurance races and runs, and he runs 100 miles sometimes. And, he hikes in 20, 30 some miles to be able to hunt. And it's really neat stuff. I mean, speaking to the importance of your health and your fitness as it relates to maybe what someone might not traditionally think is health fitness, like hunting, right? He takes it as, look, if I'm more fit, I'm going to be much better at doing this.
Well, yeah, that's like a common, like, I think it's a misconception with hunters when
Right.
they get it. It's just, they sit around, they drink beer, and it's just a vacation. And
Right. Yeah.
But he obviously takes it to the level that that's not the case.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the story for another day.
Yeah. All right, cool. That was a good one. This was episode 58.
Yeah.
58. Awesome. Find all of our stuff on socials, and we'll post that here in the video, and then we will see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.